Hey guys, how you doing? Welcome to Just the Plant Room. So today we're going to be talking about the Anthurium Gracile. Um, yeah, she does something very cool. If you like this type of content, stick around. All right, guys, welcome back. So today's plant is an Anthurium Gracile. I think I said that right. Gracile. Anywho, so this plant I got from Ecuagenera back in September of last year. She had about 4 or 5 leaves. As a matter of fact, I didn't think she was going to make it. It was one of the first anthuriums I bought just on a whim. I didn't have any anthuriums at the time. So this one is interesting. Well, a little bit of backstory. So these plants are native to Central and South America. I've got some cheat sheets here, some things that I wanted to remember to tell you. And they start out as epiphytes, but can become hemi-epiphyte. Now, I've heard that word before, but I didn't actually know what that meant. And basically what it means is that this plant starts out in the top, in the canopy, but what it does is it throws down roots. And those roots become part of the soil and they wrap around the host plant and they can actually strangle the host plant over time. And that makes a lot of sense because this plant, when I got it, it had roots coming out, but not a lot of them. And then I started noticing that as she started putting out leaves, she started developing these aerial roots. Right here, you can see the little nubbies. So what I did was, and I had seen this, I'm not sure who I was watching on YouTube. I was watching another creator, and they suggested putting a collar around where the aerial roots were to help maintain that moisture. So I decided I'd give it a try. You know, what the heck? It was my first anthurium. And what I've seen or noticed is that those roots are literally growing in there and they're pushing down into the pot. So based on what I read, that's actually I could see that happening, you know, it growing up in the tree, and as it's getting older, the roots come down and touch the dirt and then encircle its host tree and could potentially strangle that tree. But yeah, that's the morbid side of this plant in the nature, in the wild. But what's really cool about this plant is that it self-pollinates. Now, when I first got it, I kept noticing that it kept putting out these, let me flip it this way, these inflorescence. And the inflorescence would get berries, but typically when you have a plant that puts out inflorescence, it has to be you have to pollinate it, right? But in this case, this plant self-pollinates. And I didn't know that. So on a humble one day, she had this long inflorescence that was full of red berries. I took it upon myself to say, you know what? What do I got to lose, right? It's all about experimentation. We buy these plants because we love them, and then we experiment by propagating or trying to see, what we can do, or cross-pollinating. I'm not into the cross-pollinating thing. However, I did take and I squished the berries out of the inflorescence and I put them in. They didn't start out here. They started out in a more shallow bowl. And yeah, look. Now, I don't know if I did this right. I have never grown anything from a seedling before. This is my first time trying to do this. I don't know if they're going to prosper right now. This is, I would say, maybe about 2 months between the time I planted the seeds and the time I took them out of their original pot and put them in here. And now they're in the grow cabinet they're getting bright light, not full light. But I thought you'd find that interesting about this plant. The fact that you don't have to pollinate it in order to reproduce it. Some other things that you might want to know Anthuriums for me have been a challenge. I mean, I've shown you one that's a cross with a ware aquarium that I'm still struggling with, but she seems to be doing a little bit better. What I found out, just based on that and feedback that you guys gave me, is that they don't like, because they're epiphytes, they don't like a thick, heavy soil. As a matter of fact, I think you can get away without putting any soil whatsoever. What I did was, after she acclimated, I took and I put her in cocoa peat, a little bit of cocoa peat, cocoa husk, orchid bark, and these gigantic pieces of perlite and a little bit of charcoal. And she's got a little bit of sphagnum moss in there to help retain that moisture. I also water this one a little bit more frequently. So rather than wait, once a week and drench her, I water her twice a week, just enough to make sure that she stays moist and not sopping wet. So those are some of the things that, you can do to care for this plant. Something else to note is that they are susceptible to pests. I have not had any, but during my research about this plant, I found out that they can be susceptible to spider mites, thrips, mealybugs, all of those things. What I tend to do, at least here in the plant room, obviously I can't do all the plants at the same time, but typically on the watering day when I'm watering the plants, I'm always inspecting to see if I see anything that looks off. And most of the times what I'll do is I'll just take a paper towel, spray some of that homemade insecticidal solution that we make, with neem oil and alcohol, soap, blah, blah, and just wipe the leaves front and back. It thrives in bright and direct light. So right now, she gets all her light from artificial lighting. She sits in a position where she gets a little bit of morning sun from this east-facing window, but for the most part, she's living off of the lights in the ceiling. Yeah. But I think the coolest thing, she grows kind of funny. As you can see, the leaves are like all over the place. I'm not sure I'm crazy about the way she grows. I've seen some people put her on a moss pole. I don't know that I want to do that either. I think I'd prefer her to grow all wonky like this. We'll just have to find a place as she keeps getting larger. But the coolest thing for me about this plant is the fact that you don't have to pollinate her. She self-pollinates with maturity. So she recreates herself. And that's kind of cool because when they're up in the trees, those berries fall and it starts a new plant and they keep going. So it's like they keep reproducing over and over and over. So I think this is a cool one to get. I have not seen these in the stores, at least none of the stores that I've been to. And we don't have very many small plant shops here. So typically when I want something like this, or I'm interested in the plant like this, I'm getting it online. And as I mentioned, I imported this one from Ecuador, and it arrived in pretty good condition. It was after summer and before winter, so it wasn't too hot or too cold, didn't need the heat pack or anything like that. So she arrived pretty good, and she acclimated very well. But yeah, I got a bunch of Anthurium babies. I have no clue what I'm going to do, and I don't know if they'll actually reach a point where they'll be able to be separated. But I'll keep you posted on this one because it's all about the experimentation. So that's all I have to you from Just the Plant Room today. I hope you enjoyed this video. Thank you for watching. Don't forget, like, subscribe, and comment. Talk to you guys real soon. Bye.